Hey, folks, good morning and welcome to another episode of Steelers Morning Rush. I'm Alan Saunders. It's Monday, April 14th. Getting a little bit of a late start here on this Monday, but we are getting rolling. The Pittsburgh Steelers have more pre-draft visitors today, including Syracuse quarterback Kyle McCord. And I want to talk about college football, which I'll relate to the Steelers, I promise. We've talked a lot about the 2026 NFL draft class and how it is positively loaded with prospects, especially in the first round. There are about a half a dozen players that are currently expected to be first-round picks in next year's draft class, including guys like Arch Manning, guys like Drew Allar. But, of course, in that group is a player that his future has suddenly become seriously in question, in Nico Iamaleava from Tennessee, who, well, is not with Tennessee anymore, left the Volunteers program in a NIL contract dispute over the course of the end of last week and the weekend. And I think that brings into focus a couple of things that, despite, I've talked about this before. People always look and say, oh, that 26 class is never promised. And that's true. Like, it looks like it's a great class now. It's not a sure thing that it will be. It's also just as likely that for every player in that group between now and then that screws up their draft prospects between now and the 2026 NFL draft, there will be just as many in that sort of second tier of players that we're not really talking about that will, improve their stock and play their way up. Cam Ward, the number one overall pick from Miami, was not considered to be one of the best quarterbacks in this class at this time last year. A player like Carson Beck or Quinn Ewers was probably more expected to be in that spot than he was, and it turns out he's there. Beck's transferring to Miami. Ewers is going to be a day 3 pick. So there's a lot of uncertainty in the future, but I think when you're starting in a place where it looks like a really good class, that's a good sign. You're just as likely to add as you are to subtract, and unless it goes through some sort of historic level subtraction, and what is probably unlikely, it's probably going to turn out to be a better quarterback class than this year's. That doesn't mean that you can put all of your eggs in that basket, though, if you're the Pittsburgh Steelers. Certainly, there are a lot of reasons to feel good about the 26 quarterback class and about the Steelers' ability to trade up within that class to go take a swing at a big-time prospect that is, unless something unexpected happens with Shedeur Sanders, not going to be available to them in this year's draft class. There are players in next year's draft class I would be comfortable trading up for in a way that I am not comfortable trading up for Shedeur Sanders. If he falls to 21, great. If you're talking about trading up above 15 for him, I don't know. That feels risky in a way that I don't think makes sense to be. But here's what they do have. They have a relatively deep group of quarterbacks who have played a lot of college football and have had some serious success doing it as well. McCord, one of those players, passer talent wise, very good, sort of leader winner wise, maybe not what you're looking for. But there are a lot of those in this class. Will Howards and the Ewers and the Riley Leonards and Dylan Gabriels. And look, I'm not saying that any of those I think are likely to turn out to be NFL starting quarterbacks, but there's probably a decent chance that some of them will turn out to be above average backups. That's not a bad investment for a day 3 pick anyway, when you're talking about the salaries of backup quarterbacks these days. And there's also that chance, even if it's 1 in 20 or 1 in 25, that you find the next, Kirk Cousins, or the next, for a more recent example, Brock Purdy. These things don't happen very often, maybe once every 10 years, but they do happen. And the fact that the Steelers haven't had any continuity in their quarterback room over the last 2 seasons, replacing every single member from 23 to 24 and again from 24 to 25, although one of the 23s is now back in Mason Rudolph, I think it would behoove them to get themselves someone who can just stick around for a little bit, someone to hope on, put themselves in a position where, if you remember at the end of 2023 season, Kenny Pickett gets hurt, the veteran backup is flaming out, and Mitch Trubisky, and they turn to Mason Rudolph, a player they know they don't have any trust in or any faith in to be a future starter, as their number 3 quarterback. How different does everything go if their number 3 that year had been some 5th-round pick who goes in there and looks good, and now all of a sudden they're thinking, oh, maybe we have something in this guy. Put yourself in a position to hit the lottery. You got to buy a ticket, and that's what drafting someone like McCord or Howard or Ewers or Brady Cook, Brosmer from Minnesota, or Seth Hennigan from Memphis, whichever of those late round options is your sort of cup of tea, I think it's essential that the Steelers make at least one of those moves, even if they don't do something earlier in this draft. If it's not Sanders in the first round or Dart or Milrose somewhere on day 2, I do think it's essential they at least try to take a swing at the quarterback position. That future is never guaranteed, even if it looks very likely at this point. And also, let's acknowledge the Steelers could trade up to number 4, number 5 overall in 26, draft the quarterback they always wanted, and it not turn out well. There's been plenty of top 5 quarterbacks over the last few years that have not turned out the way the teams thought they would. So having a backup plan in place, even if you're going to make that move, and even if you feel good about being able to make that move in 26, is not a bad idea. So yeah, that's why the Steelers are still going to be interested in guys like McCord. And that's why I think no matter what happens with Aaron Rodgers, no matter who's available to them at 21, I think at some point in the 2026 2025 NFL draft, the Steelers are taking a quarterback. That's all I got for this morning. Be back with more with me and Smitty on Steelers Afternoon Drive around 6. Make sure you like, subscribe, hit that bell for notifications here on the YouTube channel. Until then, thanks for listening. Thanks for watching. Until next time, enjoy.